I was 24, a virgin, and terrified that I'd embarrass myself on my first date. So I asked my best friend to teach me everything I didn't know about love, flirting, romance, even how to kiss. I thought he was just helping me prepare for someone else. But after our first kiss, he looked at me and whispered, "Noah, I don't think I want to practice with anyone but you." That was the moment our friendship changed forever. And before the night was over, someone left a message outside his apartment that made us realize our secret wasn't the only thing someone had been watching. The first thing Ethan said to me that night was something I never expected to hear from my best friend. "I'm a virgin." I stared at him across the small kitchen table in my apartment in Seattle, Washington. For a few seconds, neither of us moved. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, because I genuinely thought he was joking. Ethan didn't laugh. His eyes stayed on mine. "I'm serious, Noah." That was when the smile disappeared from my face. Ethan was 24. Tall, quiet, ridiculously handsome without realizing it, and the kind of guy strangers trusted within 5 minutes of meeting him. He worked as a graphic designer at a small creative agency downtown. We had been best friends since college. I knew almost everything about him. At least I thought I did. "You've never kissed anyone?" I asked carefully. He shook his head. "Not seriously? Not even once?"
No.
I leaned back in my chair. "Ethan, why are you telling me this now?" He looked down at his hands. "Because I have a date Friday." I almost choked on my coffee. "You have a date?" "Yes." "With who?" "Someone from work." "And you're nervous?" "Terrified." I smiled. "You'll be fine." "No, I won't." He finally looked at me. "I don't know what I'm doing, Noah." Something about the way he said it made my smile disappear. He wasn't asking for jokes. He was asking for help. So I asked the question that changed everything. "What do you want me to do?" Ethan hesitated. Then he whispered, "Teach me." I froze. "Teach you what?" "How to date. How to flirt. How to kiss someone without looking like I've never done it before." My heart suddenly felt heavier. "Ethan, I can explain some things." "I don't want explanations." His voice was barely above a whisper. "I need someone I trust." I stared at him. He had no idea what he was asking. Or maybe he did. "Okay," I finally said. "We can practice." He smiled. And for the first time that night, he looked relieved. I thought I was helping my best friend prepare for a date. I had no idea I was walking directly into a secret neither of us was ready to face. The next evening, we met at my apartment again. I started with the easiest thing, conversation. "How do you tell someone you like them?" Ethan asked. "You just tell them." "That sounds terrifying." "It's not. You're good at it." I laughed. "Am I?" "Yes." There was something strange in the way he said it. I ignored it. We practiced flirting. He was terrible. Absolutely terrible. He complimented my shirt like he was reading a product description. "You look appropriately dressed." I burst out laughing. "That is possibly the worst compliment I've ever heard." He laughed too. For a few minutes, everything felt normal. Then I showed him how to hold eye contact. "Don't stare," I said. "Just look at the person like you're actually interested in what they're saying." Ethan looked at me. I waited. 5 seconds. 10. He didn't look away. Suddenly the room felt quieter. His expression changed. "What?" I whispered. "Nothing." "Then why are you looking at me like that?"
I'm practicing.
My heart skipped. Right? Neither of us moved. Then Ethan smiled nervously and looked away. "See? I'm already getting better." I laughed. But something inside me had shifted. Later that night, he asked about kissing. I explained the basics. Go slowly. Pay attention to the other person's reaction. Don't rush. Respect boundaries. He listened carefully. Then he asked, "Could we practice that too?" I stopped breathing for a second. "Ethan, you said you'd teach me." He wasn't teasing. He was completely serious. I nodded slowly. "Only if you're comfortable." "I am." I moved closer. He looked nervous. "So am I," I admitted. His eyes widened. "You?" "Yeah." You've done this before. That doesn't mean I'm not nervous right now. We leaned closer. Our faces were inches apart. Then Ethan whispered, "Why?" I didn't know how to answer, because suddenly I wasn't thinking about teaching him anymore. I was thinking about how close he was, how familiar his face looked, and how different it felt when he was this close. We stopped before the kiss happened. Ethan pulled back. "I think I need more time." "That's okay." He smiled. "Thanks, Noah." He left a few minutes later. I stood at my window and watched him disappear down the street. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "I don't think I'm nervous about Friday anymore." I smiled. Then another message appeared. "I'm nervous about you." I stared at the screen. Before I could reply, he sent one more. "Please don't ask me what I mean yet." And that was the moment I realized this wasn't going to be a simple lesson. Something was already changing between us, and neither of us knew where it would end. The next morning, Ethan acted as if nothing had happened. That somehow made it worse. We met for coffee before work. He talked about deadlines. I talked about my boss. Neither of us mentioned the text. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "What did you mean last night?" Ethan nearly dropped his coffee. "I told you not to ask. You can't send something like that and expect me to ignore it." He looked out the window. "I meant that I'm nervous about what happens if I start liking this." "Liking what?" He turned toward me. "Being close to you." I couldn't answer. Then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen. His expression immediately changed. "Who is it?" I asked. "No one." He declined the call. A second later, another call came. Same number. Ethan turned his phone face down. "Ethan, I'll explain later." That was the first time I realized he was hiding something from me. That evening, he came over again. We continued our lessons. But everything felt different now. There was tension between us. When I corrected his posture, his shoulders tightened. When our hands accidentally touched, neither of us moved immediately. We practiced eye contact again. This time, Ethan smiled. "You're making this harder." "How?" "Because I can't tell if you're teaching me or flirting with me." I looked at him. "Maybe I'm confused too." He swallowed. Neither of us laughed. Then he stepped closer. "Can we try again?" I nodded. This time, the kiss was brief. Soft. Nervous. Nothing dramatic. But when we pulled apart, Ethan didn't look embarrassed. He looked stunned. "So that's what it feels like," he whispered. "What?" "To want to do it again." My heart raced. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. The color drained from his face. "What happened?" "Nothing." "Ethan." He stood up. "I need to go." "Who keeps calling you?" He didn't answer. He grabbed his jacket. I followed him to the door. "Are you in trouble?" He finally looked at me.
No.
"You're lying. I didn't want you involved." "Involved in what?" He took a breath. "There's something I haven't told you." "What?" He looked directly into my eyes. "My last relationship didn't end normally." I felt my stomach tighten. "What happened?" He didn't accept that I wanted to leave. I looked down the street. "Is that the man?" Ethan nodded. Then he whispered something that frightened me more than anything else. "He knows about you." The words stayed in my head long after Ethan left. "He knows about you." I barely slept that night. Every time headlights passed my window, I wondered if someone was outside. By morning, I had convinced myself I was overreacting. Then Ethan didn't show up for coffee. I called him. No answer. I texted him. Nothing. By noon, I was angry. By 3, I was worried. And by 7, I was driving through downtown Seattle looking for him. That's when I saw him. He was standing outside a restaurant. And he wasn't alone. The same man from the night before was standing beside him. He was older than Ethan, maybe in his early 30s, dressed in a dark coat, with an expression that made my stomach turn. I parked across the street. I watched. The man said something. Ethan shook his head. Then the man reached for Ethan's arm. Ethan immediately pulled away. I got out of my car. "Ethan." Both men turned. Ethan's eyes widened. "Noah, what are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing." The other man stared at me. Who is this? My friend, Ethan said quickly. The man smiled. Just a friend. Ethan didn't answer. That tiny hesitation told me more than words could. The man looked at me again. Then he leaned toward Ethan and said something I couldn't hear. Ethan's face went pale. The man walked away. I waited until he disappeared around the corner. Then I turned toward Ethan. Who was that? Ethan looked exhausted. No one important. You're lying. He closed his eyes. I didn't want you involved. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Then tell me what's going on. He looked around nervously. Not here. We walked toward my car. Inside, Ethan stared out the window. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, I asked, Is he your ex? Ethan nodded. What happened? He was controlling. How controlling? Enough that I changed my number, moved apartments, blocked him everywhere. And now he's back? Yes. Why? I don't know. I looked at him. You're still hiding something. Ethan swallowed. I was afraid you'd look at me differently. I already know you. No, you don't. His voice cracked. I haven't told you everything. I reached for his hand. Then tell me. He looked at our hands. Then he looked at me. I will. Promise. I promise. He squeezed my hand. For a moment, everything felt quiet again. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I opened the message. There was only one sentence. He's not telling you the whole truth. I looked at Ethan. He was staring at my phone. And judging by the fear in his eyes, he already knew who had sent it. Ethan stared at my phone as if the message had confirmed something he had been afraid of all along. I turned the screen toward him. Who sent this? He didn't answer. Ethan. I don't know. You're doing it again. Doing what? Keeping me in the dark. He looked away. I could see the fear in his expression. But this time there was something else too. Guilt. I lowered my phone. Tell me the truth. Ethan took a slow breath. My last relationship was worse than I told you. I waited. Marcus wasn't just jealous. His voice became quieter. He wanted to control everything. Who I talked to, where I went, who I trusted. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was embarrassed. You don't have to be embarrassed. I should have known better.
No.
You trusted someone. That's not a crime. He looked at me. You always make things sound simple. They're not simple. I moved closer. But you don't have to deal with them alone. For several seconds, Ethan just stared at me. Then he whispered, That's what scares me. What? Losing you. My heart tightened. You're not going to lose me. You don't know that.
Ido.
How? Because I'm here. He looked down. I reached for his hand. This time he didn't hesitate. His fingers wrapped around mine. I've been thinking about what happened between us, he said. The kiss. He nodded. I thought I'd feel guilty. Do you?
No.
He looked into my eyes. That's the problem. I smiled slightly. Why is that a problem? Because I want it to happen again. My heart started beating faster. Then don't be afraid of it. He stepped closer. But what if this changes everything? It already has. He smiled. Then we kissed. It was still gentle and uncertain. But this time neither of us pulled away immediately. When we separated, Ethan rested his forehead against mine. I don't think I'm learning how to date anymore. I smiled.
No.
I think I'm learning how to love you. The words hit me harder than I expected. Before I could respond, a loud knock came from the apartment door. We both froze. Another knock. Then silence. Ethan grabbed my arm. Don't open it. Why? I don't know. We stood there listening. Nothing. I slowly approached the door and looked through the peephole. Nobody. I opened it carefully. There was a small envelope on the floor. I picked it up. No name. No address. Just my name written across the front. Noah. I opened it. Inside was a photograph. It showed Ethan and me sitting together in my apartment. The picture had clearly been taken from outside the building. My stomach dropped. On the back were 4 words. Stop teaching him love. Ethan read the message. His face went completely pale. He's watching us. I looked toward the window. Who? I don't know. You said Marcus was your ex. He is. Then why does he care about us? Ethan shook his head. He doesn't. I turned toward him. What does that mean? Ethan looked terrified. Marcus isn't the person sending these. Silence. Then who is? I don't know. You must have some idea. He shook his head again. Noah, please. Please what? Just stay away from this. I stared at him. You're asking me to walk away now? I'm asking you to be safe. Ethan, I'm already involved. I never wanted that. But I am. He looked down. I could see tears forming in his eyes. I didn't know what would happen if you found out. Found out what? He didn't answer. I stepped closer. Ethan, I can't. You promised. I know. Then keep your promise. He looked at me. His eyes were full of fear. 3 years ago, he whispered. Something happened that you don't remember. I frowned. What happened? There's a reason Marcus came into my life. What reason? Ethan reached into his jacket. He pulled out an old photograph. I recognized the location immediately. College party. 3 years earlier. I was in the photograph. So was Ethan. And so was Marcus. But there was someone else standing behind us. A man I barely remembered. Who is that? My father's former business partner. I stared at the photograph. What does he have to do with you? Ethan's voice dropped. Everything. Before I could ask another question, the lights suddenly went out. The apartment fell into complete darkness. Ethan grabbed my arm. Noah, I'm here. I heard something. I stood still. A faint sound came from the hallway. Footsteps. Slow. Then they stopped directly outside my door. Neither of us breathed. A few seconds passed. Then something slid underneath the door. A white envelope. I switched on my phone flashlight. The envelope had no name. I picked it up. Ethan whispered, "Don't open it." I looked at him. Why? Because I already know what's inside. My stomach dropped. You've seen this before? He nodded. Once. When? 3 years ago. I opened the envelope. Inside was another photograph. This one showed Ethan standing beside Marcus. But on the back was a message. You still haven't told Noah the truth. I turned toward Ethan. What truth? He looked at me, his eyes filled with tears. The truth about why Marcus and I really broke up. Then the hallway went silent. The footsteps were gone. But whoever had left the photograph had already made one thing clear. Someone knew our secret. Someone knew our past. And they were getting closer. Ethan stood in the middle of my dark apartment, staring at the photograph in my hand. The truth about why Marcus and I really broke up, I repeated. He nodded. I waited. Finally, he sat down on the couch. 3 years ago, before Marcus and I were together, my father was involved in a business deal that went very wrong. I sat beside him. What kind of deal? A real estate investment. Several people lost money. My father was blamed, but he wasn't the only person responsible. Who else? His business partner. The man in the photograph? Ethan nodded. He disappeared after everything collapsed. And Marcus? Marcus found documents connecting him to the whole thing. I frowned. How? I don't know. But he used them to get close to me. I stared at him. You're saying Marcus didn't meet you by accident? Ethan shook his head. Not completely. That explained the fear in his eyes. He wanted the documents. What documents? Ethan looked at me. The originals. Where are they? I don't know. You don't know? My father gave them to me before he disappeared from the business. I felt a chill. Why would he give them to you? Because he trusted me. And you still have them? Ethan didn't answer. That silence was enough. Ethan, I kept them hidden. Where? I can't tell you. I stood up. Why not? Because if someone knows where they are, they'll come after you too. I turned away. You keep saying you're protecting me. I am. But you don't understand something. He looked at me. I don't want you protecting me by lying to me. His eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Be with someone. He looked down. I've spent my whole life keeping people at a distance. Then you came along. I sat beside him again. You don't have to know everything. I thought I needed someone to teach me how to love. He smiled sadly. But you taught me something else. What? How terrifying it is to actually care about someone. I took his hand. You're not alone anymore. He looked at me. Promise. Promise. For a moment the fear disappeared. Then his phone buzzed. We both looked at the screen. Unknown number. A message appeared. Midnight. Pike Place Market. Come alone. Ethan's face went pale. I'm going.
No.
They have the documents. You don't know that. They know where they are. I shook my head. You're not going alone. If you come, they'll know I told you. Let them. Noah, I already told you. I'm not walking away. He stared at me. Then he smiled through the fear. You really are stubborn. Apparently. He laughed quietly. It was the first time either of us had smiled all night. At midnight, we drove toward Pike Place Market. We didn't know what we'd find. We only knew that someone wanted Ethan there. When we arrived, the streets were nearly empty. The city lights reflected across the wet pavement. Ethan looked at me. Stay here.
No.
Noah. I said no. He sighed. Fine. We walked together. Then we saw someone standing near the entrance. Marcus. Ethan stopped. Why are you here? Marcus looked at him. I didn't send the messages. I know. Marcus looked at me. You need to listen to me. I've heard enough from you. You haven't heard the truth. Ethan stepped forward. What truth? Marcus reached into his coat. Ethan immediately tensed. But Marcus pulled out a small envelope. I found this 3 years ago. He handed it to Ethan. Ethan opened it. Inside was a copy of an old document. His eyes widened. This isn't possible. What? Ethan looked at me. This proves my father's business partner was lying. Marcus nodded. And he knows you still have the originals. A noise came from behind us. We turned. Someone was standing across the street. A dark figure. The person looked at us for a few seconds, then disappeared into the crowd. Ethan grabbed my hand. We need to go. We hurried back toward the car. But before we reached it, Ethan stopped. His phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. His face changed. What? He turned the phone toward me. There was a photograph. It showed us standing beside Marcus. The picture had been taken only seconds earlier. Below it was a message. You should have listened. I looked around. Someone was close. Very close. Then another message arrived. Noah was never supposed to know. Ethan looked at me.
I'm sorry.
For what? I should have told you everything. I took his hand. You still can. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. I love you. The words came suddenly.
No hesitation.
No fear. Just the truth. I pulled him closer. I love you too. He kissed me. For the first time there was no lesson. No practice.
No pretending.
Just us. When we pulled apart, Ethan rested his forehead against mine. I don't want this to end. It won't. But neither of us noticed the figure standing several yards away. Watching. Waiting. Holding a phone. Because while Ethan and I were finally admitting our feelings, someone else had already made a decision. Our love had become the one thing they couldn't control. And the next message would change everything. To be continued. If Noah and Ethan's story pulled you in, don't let their journey end here. Red Heart. Their love story is only beginning. And part 2 will reveal the secrets, danger, and emotions waiting for them. Join our channel membership to support the channel and get access to exclusive gay romance stories, early content, and members-only videos. Your support helps us continue creating more emotional slow-burn love stories like this one. Join the membership today and be part of our story family. Red Heart. And tell us in the comments, do you think Noah and Ethan will make it through everything coming their way?